Welcome to another episode of Be On Air with me, Lisa Hopkins. Before I introduce our guest, I'd like to take a moment to thank our incredible partner in our podcast series, Frank Podcasts, New Zealand's premier podcast production and brand integration partner. Thanks so much, team, for your support of BIA and our sector. And what a great activation idea for conferences. Talk to the Frank team. They'll have all the information you can possibly want and more. Today, though, I am joined, and I'm really delighted and excited to be joined by David Higgins, founder and director at Duco Events, one of Asia Pacific's leading events management and sports promotion companies. Many of you will know David and Duco Events for their involvement with sports promotion and events, including the likes of former WBO heavyweight champion Joseph Parker and the T20 Black Clash. Try saying that in a hurry. Duco is also behind the iconic Synthony brand, and with Synthony headlining the closing meeting celebration at our annual meetings trade show next week, we are delighted to have the opportunity to sit down with David to find out more about the evolution of Synthony, his role leading Duco, and why it has become a true New Zealand success story. So David, thank you so much for joining us. You are a busy man and we're very grateful for your time. And of course, we have a connection with BIA's chair, Martin Snedden, was also working with you at one stage, I believe.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lisa, for having me on, and to Frank Podcasts and to BEIA. Pleasure to be here. And Martin Snedden, he's a great guy, a lifetime of service to New Zealand events and tourism and sports. I should say lifetime. He's not dead yet. He's still going strong.
Very strong.
Martin's, pleased to hear he's chairing the board. He's a very safe pair of hands.
That's for sure. Absolutely. When I was starting to research into our conversation, I read this comment and I thought it was just classic. You once said that Synthony is more infectious than Ebola. I'm a fangirl and I absolutely understand that statement. But what do you think is the magic or the hook that makes Synthony so iconic?
Well, first of all, I was probably wearing my boxing promoter hat when I said that, because it's the kind of un-PC quip you might make as a boxing promoter. I apologise to anyone that's been affected by Ebola. It was tongue-in-cheek.
Very tongue-in-cheek.
Certainly, Synthony, what I meant by that is people who are exposed to and experience it, even if they don't like electronic dance music, can't help but get infected by it because it's so upbeat, so positive, so euphoric that they tell their friends, and then their friends come along. And Synthony grew through word of mouth. The first show was 2,000 people at Auckland Town Hall. Not a lot of publicity, but the people who went came back in droves, told their friends and family. It doubled, 4,000 the following year. Then it went Spark Arena, 7,000, 8,000. Then it sold out Spark Arena, 10, 11. Went outdoor, 25,000, 35. Now it's at 40,000. And it's kicked off globally. And it is, the live experience is so positive and immersive, all ages, no dickheads. It's certainly grown through the magic of that connection, that live experience, that entertainment.
You know, you talk about connection. That's such an important part of any event, isn't it? Do you think that one of the things, though, that you're finding with Synthony and the way it does connect and resonate with its audience is, you really are appealing to that sort of Gen X generation who were, in the clubs in London on their OEs and, having a great night out. And now they're back in New Zealand and kids have grown up and, they're looking for something to do. And this really resonates with them because it's kind of what they're used to, what they know, but they're in some cases, bringing their own kids along as well. So you kind of becoming multi-generational.
Yeah, 100%. We see a lot of parents and more mature people bringing teenagers and children along, and nostalgia is kind of cool and trendy now. Yeah. There's a bit of nostalgia going on. One advantage with Synthony is if you go to a music event, a concert with your favorite artist or an artist, generally there's a lot of songs in the set list, and then usually they keep the best for last. There's a thing called the encore where there's 3 or 4 tracks at the end that are real worldwide bangers. Now, of course, because Synthony's a covers act, we have the luxury through our music director, Dick Johnson, and our team of curating and choosing all the tracks. So we choose all bangers. So the whole set has the, the uplift of the encore. So we've kind of taken that energy you get in the last 3 days, the encore of a concert, but drawn it out for the whole 90 minutes or 2 hours through and the ability to do that's because it's a covers act and we can pick and choose what tracks we put in. And most people know the words, even if they're not into that music, they've heard it at cafes or at the gym or in the taxi. So they're kind of global bangers, if you like, where people know the melody and know the words.
I think I went to Synthony this year, and it was an incredible experience in the Domain here in Auckland. I mean, the fact that it was a beautiful evening as well, everything was just coming together perfectly. And you're right about the energy. It was extraordinary to see so many people just all literally dancing like nobody was watching. And just having the best possible time. It was electric. And that must make you feel, how does that make you feel knowing you're bringing all these people together and they're all sort of working together in this, under this one umbrella of, we used to dance this music, we want to keep dancing to this music, and we don't want to stop dancing to this music.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
I mean, when I did due diligence on Synthony, went to the first one I went to in 2018, I was observing the audience and the vibe, and everyone walked out of that venue smiling wide, saying, oh, that was 10 out of 10. And so part of the reason we invested heavily in Synthony and then trademarked it, I think we trademarked it in 80 to 100 countries now, wow, with a view to building it globally, was when I saw that vibe, I thought, if that works in Auckland, why wouldn't that work in Vancouver, Milan, Sydney? It's so infectious, it should grow and grow globally. And so when at Auckland Domain, when we go to Manuka Fuel Synthony Festival and see 40,000 people enjoying it like that, there's a sense of satisfaction, I guess. Like, if you're a sculptor, you've got a vision in your head, you create the sculpture, then you see the finished product. That's what it's like for me, because a lot of work, risk, years of work, risk and building and contracting and negotiating and booking talent and judgment goes, and a whole team of people have worked to create that. And so on the day, I try to do as little as work as possible and soak it all up.
I confess I saw you there and
Yeah.
you looked like you were having a good time,
Good.
Which is great, which is exactly what you would want it to be. But, David, you're known for the sporting events. So why the shift into music? Was that sort of like your natural next place to go, or what took you there?
So my first event was called the Gateway to China Trade Summit, and it was an international trade summit on doing business with China, and it was a full-day conference of speakers, including the New Zealand government, Chinese government, economists from China. I put that together when I was 24.
A classic business event,
Yeah.
David. Yeah.
And so, there'd never been one at that time in New Zealand. It was the first big event about doing business with China. Then we morphed into celebrity speaker events. We did gala dinner, keynote speaker events with Richard Branson twice, Gordon Ramsay, Nigella Lawson, Andre Agassi, Shane Warne, Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Bob Geldof, Boris Johnson. The list goes on.
Yes.
Then we also did the NRL Nines rugby league
Yes.
tournament. We did boxing, David Tour, Shane Cameron, Joseph Parker. All of it is opportunistic. So when you say opportunistic, it can sound a bit like low rent almost, but no, it's we're opportunists. It's sort of like you imagine a property developer is looking for development opportunities, sizing up bits of land and the economy in different cities and towns. Where shall I build the next building? How tall shall I build it? Will it sell? Similar. And so in our business, we think or try and spot event opportunities. And whether it's a dinner with Richard Branson, which we sold out at Viaduct Event Centre, or a business summit on China, or getting two blokes to have a boxing match, David Higgins and Shane Cameron, it's about spotting the opportunity, and then it's about what's the value of the opportunity, how do we contract the rights to it, and then selling tickets, television, sponsorship, trying to cover costs and make a profit. And so the Synthony thing happened naturally in terms of spotting an opportunity. It was actually started by a friend of mine, David Elmsley, who's an Air New Zealand pilot, and his wife at the time, Erica Moore, who was a DJ. They created it and ran the first one, and then their circumstances were changing and they wanted to sell it, and they wanted advice on who do we sell it to and how much for. Right. And we were doing huge events at the time. We were doing the World Welterweight Boxing Championship at Suncorp Stadium, Brisbane, 55,000 people, ESPN TV worldwide, Joseph Parker versus Anthony Joshua, Millennium Stadium, 80,000 people in Cardiff. Yep. The NRL Nines at Eden Park, 2 days on television, 80,000 fans. So they said to me, you wouldn't be interested in Synthony, it's too small. So I took the meeting just to help out, and I listened. And in the meeting, I was fascinated. It was like, I felt like I was on Dragon's Den. I was grilling them about Synthony. And I loved the fact that it had no known stars. So normally, it's counterintuitive. People think you want to Ed Sheeran at your concert. No, and every time, but when you look at that, that's all controlled by global corporations like Live Nation. And if there is any profit and money, most of it will flow to Ed Sheeran and Live Nation. And so whoever's booking the venue and selling the tickets in New Zealand doesn't have much control or say. Like, Taylor Swift, for example. Right. I reckon my French bulldog Gus could sell out a Taylor Swift concert. If you put his paw on the keyboard, he could book Eden Park, signed the Ticketmaster contract, and boom, it sells out. So there's no talent in selling out a Taylor Swift concert for the local promoter. There's no value add. And every time I'd looked at music with big names, you have no say on where the event is. You have no say on when it is. You have no say on what kind of venue you can use. You can't add any sponsors. That's all controlled by their agents and their management. So I just couldn't see an opportunity. Because we're a small New Zealand company, we found our opportunity in the cracks with rights that aren't owned by big sporting NGOs or global corporations. Like the NRL Auckland Nines was a new product, nine-a-side rugby league, hadn't been done. So there was an opportunity built around that. So on the music front, with Synthony, I loved that it had no stars. It was like Cirque du Soleil. Cirque du Soleil's gone global, but you never see Cirque du Soleil starring Trevor, the contortionist from Mongolia. Because otherwise, if they started promoting it like that, it becomes all about the contortionist, and people are going, is he in the show or isn't she in the show? And so I thought, wow, it's a brand, and we could expand it globally and use the local orchestra in each city and use young talent who are grateful for the platform and pay them fairly, but expand it globally that way. And that way we have control. We can hold it in any city we want, London, New York, any date we want, any venue we want. We can add sponsorship without having an argument with the manager or the agent. And so that's what attracted me. And in the first meeting, I thought, wow, we could try and make this a global thing. And the fan feedback was sort of 10 out of 10. So I thought it's a magic product. It's quite unique. I liked how it was a covers gig, because when the set list gets old, just make a new one. And so we've ended up employing a full-time music director and DJ with the studio, and our orchestra, Dick Johnson, our orchestrator, Ryan Ewens, who writes orchestra sheet music. And we've now gone through that process for nearly 300 music tracks, which is enough to make or to perform, 8 different concerts. And so if we enter a new market like London, which we're going to do in November this year, we can sort of perform Synthony number 1, which is 26 tracks, and then a year later come back with a new set list, and then a new one and a new one. So it's kind of it has panned out that way. So I ended up buying and investing in it, and then we expanded it around New Zealand first, then outdoor in New Zealand at Bowler Brooklands, then into Australia. And right now we've got 22 concerts in Europe this winter.
So is it almost like it could almost be considered a little bit local as well, because you're using local talent in all of those
hybrid.
A hybrid.
So some talent, like our saxophone player, will travel, but some talent will travel, and it depends. Like in Europe, most of the talent are European based.
Yes.
But some of them are New Zealanders that did our New Zealand show 5 years ago.
Gotcha.
The orchestras in Europe, we're using a European orchestra. In New York, we're using a New York orchestra.
Right. Yeah.
In Sydney, we use a Sydney orchestra. I think, flights and accommodation costs can sort of kill the profit margin in a touring model. And so, Cirque du Soleil again, they do have to tour a big party because, contortionists are hard to find. So their flights and accommodation will be through the roof, where Synthony will be quite lean. When we perform offshore, we might send a production crew, like lighting, event management, tech, and that's all. We might only have to send 7 or 8 people to each show.
So you're basically sending IP offshore,
Yeah.
not the whole touring party.
Yeah.
And in that way, it also makes it, I guess, relevant to the destination that you're holding it in.
Yeah.
It's an incredible model. And it doesn't sound overly risky, as you say, the margins are there and the way that you manage it is there. But I'm assuming that there's quite a lot of risk in the whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think when so in New Zealand, we are the owner and the underwriter of the events, including the big festival at Auckland Domain.
Right.
So I'm taking the risk, and it's a market I know well. I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a safe legal system. It's a fairly honest country. Australia the same. We've run our Australian shows. But when you go to more obscure, risky markets where the legal system doesn't function properly, or the language barrier, or we've got no history, like say India, China,
Right.
I don't want to be the promoter.
Yes.
And so, and say for Europe, we've partnered with a local promoter in Europe who effectively owns the shows,
Right.
books the venue, sells the tickets, keeps the money, but pays a fee, like a production fee, if you like, for our advice on how to produce the show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of we receive a fixed fee for the European shows, maybe with a bit of a bonus. In some cases, we're getting corporate private show bookings. So, for example, we did Formula One Las Vegas on the start line a couple of years ago. They just contacted us out of the blue. We did an 8-minute medley on television at the start of Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix for a fixed fee. Yeah. Similarly, a Saudi Arabian outfit booked us to open a resort island in the Red Sea called Sindala, and that was a fixed fee. So I think, where we don't know the market as well, we'd prefer a partnership approach or a fixed fee in advance, which takes the financial risk away.
Yeah, because absolutely taking that financial risk away would be, I would imagine, be the sort of the number one element that you would want to negate in any sort of way.
Yeah. And I think when you do anything in the United States, there's a legal risk because it's quite a litigious country. In New Zealand, if you accidentally stand on someone's toe, they can claim ACC and get their toe fixed.
Not
in America, if you accidentally stand on someone's toe, you might be facing a $10 million lawsuit for loss of income in perpetuity and a whole lot of things like that. So you kind of forget that as a New Zealander. So when we went to America, I said to my team, we should probably have a look at the various insurances around liability in that.
So I mean, did you envisage that Synthony, when we'll just talk Synthony just for a moment, but Synthony was just going to be this sort of mega successful brand that it's become? I mean, it's just rolling on, and it's just sounds like it's doing some incredible things internationally.
So at the beginning, when we started the journey, it was before COVID, and to be honest, my gut feeling was that it could be a global brand like Cirque du Soleil with a suite of different concerts that we can roll around the world in different formats. An early vision was to try do a residency show in Las Vegas where it's permanent. Every, several nights a week and go see Synthony. We actually had a contract to roll that out at one of the casinos in Vegas before COVID, but COVID killed that deal.
Right.
And we haven't got back there yet.
Yeah.
But my gut feeling and why I put time, effort and money into it was that it could be a global brand like Cirque du Soleil. So to some extent, we're on our way. We're not there yet. Like we're slowly conquering new markets year by year. But it's certainly, people love it all over the world. Yeah. The social media stats, like we're over 500,000 followers now on Instagram. We're doing, I think, 35 million views a year on our YouTube videos. We've got 250,000 subscribers on YouTube and growing every day. Yes. So it is day by day encroaching around the world, becoming a global brand. And it's ever try come up with a brand name for a new product? Very hard to find a unique brand name that isn't already taken. Harder still to trademark it around the world. Very hard. And I've tried to do it for other non-Synthony sporting things. The word Synthony is magic. It's the word symphony, like symphony orchestra, merged with synergy and synthesize.
Yes.
Synthony. And that change of the letter M to the letter N has enabled us to trademark it the world over.
Amazing.
I didn't realize when I was trademarking it how lucky I was in that respect, until I then went to go and trademark some other names. And the Australian jurisdiction is very difficult to trademark, more so than New Zealand. So Synthony can kind of, in my mind, it's like a noun. It describes what that concert is. Mm. And so, there's other events that are similar, like Ministry of Sound Orchestrated.
Yes.
But that's quite a mouthful. So what is a symphony? We sort of own the dictionary definition, to my mind, with that brand. And then the logo of the conductor guy holding with the headphones on, but with the baton. To us, it's like our Nike tick. It's it's the perfect logo for what we're doing.
And when you were talking about international, you touched on Las Vegas. I had this vision of the Sphere and wondered whether or not that in itself might be a goal in the future to Synthony in the Sphere in Las Vegas. Is it that, or is there actually like another destination in the world you think you'd quite like to crack?
I think it'll be fantastic in the Sphere. I saw U2 3D in the Sphere.
Amazing.
It was amazing. Mm. But the Sphere with its 3D immersive environment will be fantastic. And in my mind, it's the perfect filler event. So when they've got U2 or the Eagles in the Sphere, they're presumably having to pay U2 or the Eagles a few $1 million a show. So what do they do on the nights that they're not available? They stick Synthony in with an orchestra. It'll be a good, cost-effective way to showcase infrastructure of the Sphere with feel-good worldwide hits. I mean, those Synthony tracks are popular in non-English speaking countries as well. It's a global language, the Synthony music. Yes. Whether you're in South America or Eastern Europe or Spain or Germany and Poland are massive, our stats prove it. It's a global language. And so in a place like Vegas, it'll be perfect to put in the Sphere. And, hopefully they come knocking one day, or we might go knocking on their door when the time is right.
Why not? And I've also got this vision of, also you mentioned about connecting in with Formula One and how, is there a partnership that potentially could occur, not necessarily with just Formula One, but is there a partnership that could occur when you sort of tie into something else that happens globally that might make sense?
Sure thing. Like Formula One, obviously we did Vegas, but another beauty of Synthony, going back to my point about having a level of control that might not otherwise exist if you're booking an act, is you can fit different formats. So we had a big bash cricket, I think it was a grand final in Australia, said, can you do a half hour or 20-minute show to fit our innings break? And can you time the screens around the Melbourne cricket ground, the MCG, biggest stadium in Australia or New Zealand, time it to the show? And we did. So we made this like 20-minute curated medley of tracks, and we turned the stadium lighting on to with the Synthony show. They loved it. Similarly, for Netball Australia, did something similar.
Right.
So we can sort of fit into other events, do festival bookings, sporting events, as well as our own concerts.
And that's a beautiful segue, of course, into how BIA has become connected with Synthony. And we're so excited that Synthony will be at meetings this year and will be closing meetings, which I can't think of a better way to celebrate what would have been an incredible couple of days. Are you starting to see a lot more of this, though, David, with, doing more of these private? You mentioned a couple that you did over in Saudi and other places, but are you seeing more of that, how you're basically putting, and I don't want to label it and I don't want to give you another brand, but it's like Synthony in a box.
Yeah.
Is that where you're starting to see things happen?
Yeah, definitely. I think as our social media presence has grown, we get more booking inquiries. And so each day, or at least a couple of times a week, someone will contact us saying, hey, can I book your show? And 80% of inquiries are tire kickers, but 20% are not. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of our job in the team to sort of filter through what's real and what isn't. But there's some interesting ones, like you'll get one from, say, a British billionaire, say, can you do my daughter's wedding in Spain?
Right.
And then another one was a tech software billionaire from Armenia.
Okay.
Said, I booked O2 Arena. There's a smaller theatre, O2 Arena, for an annual staff function. Can you do a private show? And we did.
Amazing.
So a government-funded music festival in Mexico emailed, and so I jumped on the phone and vetted it. It was for real, and they paid us a fixed fee to come and do a festival in Mexico. We did a 90-minute performance in a town square in front of 30,000 people. It was a free of charge event.
Incredible.
So that it's a great way to see the world and go to places you might never go to. The Armenian company, there's a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Armenia in the mountains with a pagan temple in a mountain surrounded by valley and more mountains. And
so it's like a natural.
Yeah. And they've said that they want to book us to a Synthony show in the pagan temple up in the mountains. So hopefully that happens.
There'd be a bit of logistics going on
there.
Yeah,
you have to bring in all the production. But they seem to be serious about it.
Amazing. That's incredible. We mentioned how we've got Synthony playing at meetings, which we just can't wait. But I could sit here and talk Synthony all day, and we can't do that. But so I want to just kind of bring it a little bit back to connecting it in with business events. And I guess one of the things that a lot of people are talking about at the moment is the whole events ecosystem and how it can be a lot more joined up. And I think, there's ideas around when we have big sporting events on, for example, how are we leveraging maybe sponsors and corporates who attend that to also do maybe an incentive or a conference or something. So we get the full benefit of those people in town. There was one stat that I read that I thought was really interesting, because I'm kind of mixing my two loves here, dance music and Formula One, is that during the Singapore Formula One week, they anchor about 30 corporate events as well, business events, into the city at the same time, because they can leverage having people together, but also going to this extraordinary event. Is New Zealand doing anything similar in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that's good to do. But I think resourcing is an issue. Like, what I mean is, if you're fishing and you want to catch the giant rare tuna or marlin, you need the right bait. And I learned that with like the public speaker events I did.
Right.
Like a lot of companies, when they invite clients to things, they want like the CEO or the chairperson of the board to come to the event. And a lot of people have said lately, inviting them to the rugby or something doesn't work like it used to. like going to corporate boxes. Whereas if when we put on, say, a dinner with Richard Branson, they'll all come out. It'll be the CEO, the owner, the chairperson will come out. Like, so I think with Formula One, you've got a globally trendy, sexy event property where a whole lot of very influential people are going to travel into Singapore. And then if there's conferences and, the speakers, Michelle Obama or something, they're all going to go. Whereas if the event is not trendy or appealing, you won't get influential people going. And then if the other event doesn't have an interesting, compelling speaker, they're not going to go. Right. So it's all down to the content. It's like fishing. It's the content that attracts the people. And if you want the heavy hitters, you need the most rare, unique, compelling content. And that takes money. So it's really, and we're going to do a couple of public speaker events each year. I've actually got a really good one for February next year that I think will be one of the biggest in New Zealand history. It'll be sold out. I can't say who it is.
Damn it!
But it's it's a global public figure who's a legendary entrepreneur, industry leader, and everyone's going to want to go and listen to what she has to say.
Right.
And so in that case, you'll get the big end of town come out. You get a lot of influential people together. Whereas if the speaker was me, they're not going to show up. So I think what you're advancing there is the cross-pollination of events is definitely good, and we should strive for it. But we should also make sure that our events are globally competitive by resourcing them. And I think the government has a role. Like you'll get one bunch of people going, the government shouldn't be sponsoring events or putting up funding into events or like they're doing. Mm-hmm. That's fine, but a lot of people will go live in Australia or other places where the Australian states do more funding. That's very competitive. There's a lot of money there for event attraction. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, and New Zealand's never getting those globally interesting events and speakers, you might leave and be part of the brain drain and go live in Sydney instead. So I think that it's good that the government's doing more in the space. It definitely helps. You've got Tottenham football playing at Eden Park coming up. You've got various music properties and opportunities that might not happen otherwise. And it makes New Zealand a more interesting place to live, and it helps that cross-pollination that you talked about.
Absolutely. I think, as we get more into this and we see more of these events coming through, I think it's probably going to encourage people to think a little bit more broadly, because I feel sometimes we think just, Tottenham Hotspur coming, it's soccer and that's it, or football, I should say, and that's it. I think one of the things we need to be asking ourselves is the what else? What else can we add on to that? What else can we be doing to expand that opportunity? Yeah. So what next for Duco? Is it sport? Is it music? Is it something completely? Does it? You mentioned the speaker obviously next year, which you refuse to tell us who that is. Yeah. But what is it for you?
It's got a business angle, actually, an entrepreneurship angle. No, I mean, we're opportunists. So we're always looking ahead, like at the top of the mast of a tall ship. What's on the horizon? What are the opportunities? And I like a balanced portfolio. I like to do events in sport and boxing and business, public speakers, music. And it served me well, cricket, Black Clash, being diversified, because, during COVID, when we couldn't run music events in New Zealand, I had boxing going in the UK.
Right, yes.
And then when the UK, Australia shut down, I'm running music events in New Zealand, and then my cricket. And so being diversified worked well to spread risk. It's
given you resilience, really, hasn't it?
Yeah. And so we're sort of looking at future. We've got a pipeline of future opportunities, and they've got to be exciting and interesting. Like, I'm too old now. I've been doing it too long to do stuff I find boring.
Yeah.
So I've got to find the speaker, the content, the event, the concert, interesting, exciting, something I'd want to go to. Tick. Second, it's got to be achievable, and we've got to believe it can be successful or profitable. Yeah. You don't want to be too hit and miss in this business. You can go bankrupt. You've got to, if you're doing out of every 10 events, you might have one or two that fail, ideally not. a bunch that do okay, and then one or two blockbusters. But there's a judgment element to it. You've got to be good at judging what's going to succeed and work and what isn't, and then be good at making deals, whether it's sponsorship deals or TV deals or negotiating fees is very important to get right. But on the horizon now, we've got the Synthony Tour of Europe, 22 shows. Craig Cotton, our CEO, has done a great job setting all that up. We've got Full Metal Orchestra. It's a rock and roll version of Synthony, effectively,
Fantastic.
which is the new cab on the rank that we've done New Zealand, and it's landed really well. We're now looking at debuting that in Australia. Our drummer's Phil Rudd, who was the drummer for AC/DC for 50 years.
It's good pedigree.
So, and then we got the Limitless speaker series. We started with Boris Johnson. We've got the speaker I'm alluding to in February next year, and we'll keep that going. We've got Black Clash. We're looking at doing an Australian version of Black Clash, like a AFL and NRL versus cricket on TV, like we do here. Boxing, we've got David Nika. We're working on a world title eliminator where the Olympian David Nika can fight at home in Auckland in August, and if he wins, he's guaranteed a world title shot. That looks like it will happen.
Fantastic.
So, it's exciting and varied.
A full dance card, which brings me to my last question. David, tell us, what is your favourite Synthony banger?
Well, to be honest, I've always been more into rock and roll or rock music than EDM, electronic dance music. But Synthony, the tracks are so sort of universal, you can't help but enjoy it when you're there. And so I've kind of got into it a bit, and I know some of the music. But at Synthony, for me, it's about the audience reaction. Okay. And so the track that most sort of detonates the audience is Darude, the Sandstorm track that finishes the show. Like when that track comes on, they all go mental. Just to see that the energy and the waves of euphoria and energy sweeping around the crowd is pretty amazing. And so it's probably it's always fun to watch Sandstorm come on and see what happens.
Well, that is an absolute classic, and I can say that, yes, that's exactly what did happen when we were at Synthony this year in the Domain. It was incredible to see just everybody bouncing, basically. The ground was moving. The ground definitely was moving. Hey, look, David, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We cannot wait to welcome Synthony to the meetings environment. I think it's going to be an amazing evening. You've got no idea how much interest and excitement we're getting already from people who want to be there. So we're really grateful. And again, incredible. You've done so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate your time too.